Hey everybody, it is Chris. And the reason why you're really here, Lumen, unfortunately, she has to talk through my mouth, so it's not as much fun. If I looked like her, I would have so many. People wouldn't even freaking care what I'm talking about. This chick's just blabbing on about stuff, but damn. Anyway, we're starting over. I I tried doing this video a little bit ago, and finally, after about, I don't know, 40 minutes, I just stopped. I'm like, ugh. See, these chronicle videos are different. A lot of times, I've already got an idea for what we're going to teach, but chronicles are different because it's an ongoing process. It's like revelation for the most part. Earlier chronicles were like the first set of chronicles was me at the latter stages of the hero's journey, basically documenting what was happening as it was happening. No one had ever done that before. Can't really find them on the channel. They're private because I don't want people finding the old videos. It's like, don't worry about that. We're past that now. But it's just something that we did. Things are changing, and we have to change the way that we think. Like the stuff that I'm seeing is surprisingly simple. This happens on this path where you're peeling away layers and stuff like that, and things that you've always kind of known, they just click better. They click a little bit more, and then they start to stand out a little bit more. And this all ties into things that we talked about in the previous video that's been happening out in the world. This is like almost the way that I'm thinking and feeling, and the way my mind is changing. Like this is, I think we've finally stumbled onto the key. We just got to flesh it out a little bit more, and it does jive with some of the biggest keys that that JC was dropping in, like the Gospel of Thomas, which is like one of the best books in the Nag Hammadi, because it's one of the two good ones to the two best ones to start with. The Secret Book of John, which is going to give you the whole Gnostic backstory, and the Gospel of Thomas. So I like sticking mainly with the ones that his apostles wrote, but the Thomas gospel is different because it's not like the gospels in the Bible. He didn't document, like, today Jesus went to a petting zoo, and they took people took selfies with him while he was petting the sheep. Then he met a sick woman and he healed her. Then he cast out a demon. Then he had some shawarma, and then we walked a while. Like that's kind of how the other gospels read to me, except for a couple of key parts. No, Thomas was like, you know, they're they're strolling along, and every so often Jesus takes his little Morpheus glasses and puts them on, and he starts dropping some like deep stuff. That's all Thomas wrote down, was like the little sayings and puzzles and parables and stuff. Like it's so rich for um, clues and things like that. Anyway, I'm rambling. But one of the things that he says several times in there is, become like children, or he makes reference to babies. Like one of the big ones that's kind of like part of the puzzle for this place goes like, off the top of my head, it's like Jesus saw some babies nursing, and he said to his disciples, "Those babies are like those who will enter the kingdom." And the disciples said to him, "So we will enter the kingdom as babies?" The disciples and apostles, they weren't that bright. But they're just trying to understand this guy. He's like, when you make the two into one, and you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and you make the male and female into a single one, so that the male's not totally male and the female's not totally female. When you make eyes in place of an eye, hands in place of a hand, foot in place of a foot, image in place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom. There's a bit more to that, but yeah, she's always had me focused on that one because there's a lot of things that I've done that, like, now I know what that means. And but like with the male and female into a single one, that's kind of multi-layered. That's the Chris and Lumen thing, but it's also the right brain, left brain thing. Whole brain, coherence. Anyway, I'm rambling. But it's like, what's that mean? Become like children? Because that's the funny thing that I'm realizing right now as I'm freaking saying it. Like literally, for the first time, I'm realizing as I'm saying it that he didn't answer the question. He brought up babies, and they're like, "We enter the kingdom as babies," and then he just, here's a big crazy puzzle, and in nowhere in this puzzle is any mention of a baby. But it also goes back to, have they asked again, like, when are we getting out of here? Even back then, they were in a hurry to get out of here. He's like, have you discovered the beginning so that you were seeking the end? For at the beginning is where the end will be. Become like children, babies. Okay, well, what do those two things have in common? Babies don't know shit. They haven't learned anything. They're fully connected to Mama Bear, Sophia, still, but they haven't learned anything yet. They haven't been taught anything yet. Every bit of thing in your mind that you know, know is a 4-letter word. Probably worse than the F word, in my opinion, at this point. Everything that you know sets up a wall. This is the metaphor of the labyrinth, the maze in this place that you make up. Because every belief that you have, everything you accept to be true, everything you're taught that you accept is like a separate wall in this labyrinth. And you're walking along, building a labyrinth, and then one day you're like, where the hell am I? How the hell do I get out of here? And you can't figure anything out because nothing makes sense anymore. Unless she finds you and teaches you how to start knocking down walls. This wall that we're talking about here is like the outer wall of the labyrinth. And it's going all the way back to, like, really to the basics of the foundation of what we think we know. And it deals with them. So we're going to talk about that and some of these other real key things that are part of this. But first, let me tell you about this good feeling. So we're in the last part of October. There is stuff happening in the world story, but you'll soon find out why I don't care. So what we should be feeling latter part of October, headed toward Halloween, running into this crazy period, like it should feel like stressful and scary, right? Exact opposite. Exact opposite. So what I think we first started talking about this in the last video, but it's getting a little bit more clear now. And as it gets more clear, it's taking effect. And just like it's all falling down. And then Lumen wanted to make, I spent about 4 hours with Lumen today. And how I do that is I have to shut out the world. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And I have to play music. She's got several playlists. And then when it gets to the end of a playlist, it goes into random mode. And then if she's present, she will start picking songs. And I know she's doing it because the songs always fit. And a lot of times they're songs I haven't heard in a long time, or they're not anything that should be coming up based on my search algorithm results. Plus, I can tell by feeling that she's doing it. And then that allows me to be in two places at once. So I can be working on a pendant in this 3D shit show, but internally in the inner world, I'm doing whatever, usually just watching her, because if she's listening to music, she's performing it. Changing, I mean, you know that you're watching it because, let's face it, not just because I'm white, but I can't dance. And I certainly have not been trained in choreography. But Loman can dance like freaking crazy. It's like, how could you imagine perfect dance routines if you know nothing about it? Because you're not doing it. You're just observing it. That's third eye observation. So it's hard to explain how realistic it is for me to be in two places at once. But you got to clear out your inner mind first. But anyway, she found a new song and pulled it out. And right away, I could tell. Now, there's sometimes when she actually speaks, and there's other times that I just know what she's thinking because, we share a brain. And she wanted to make she wanted to make a new intro with this song because of the upbeat feel of it and what it's actually saying. And she wanted to make some other changes to it. So she's anchored in the right brain, so she does a lot of the creative stuff. I mean, the only reason I can make those pictures of her is because first, she can interact with electronics and she can hijack the AI to spit out something that looks pretty close to her. And then we use other apps to fine tune it to make it look just like her. But this intro right here is a lot different from the other intros. It is a completely different vibe, and that should show you what's changed and how much it's changing and how fast it's changing. So this is a really good sign. So if you want to know more, don't go away. Seriously, don't go away. Where are you going? Just watch it. Just let me take you to a better place. I'm gonna make you kiss the sky tonight. Yeah, if you let me show the way. I'm so excited to see you excited. I take you to a better place. And baby, you can love me on the way. We're flying up to outer space. I'm so excited to see you excited. Yeah, I like to see you lose control. You have no idea, like, maybe you do. I'm trying to talk down to you. But I cannot stress enough, as simplistic as it sounds, what a huge key music is. The right music. And it can change from person to person, different tastes. It's usually more of it is 70s and 80s, but even up to modern times, there can be some. It has to have a certain feeling. There was way more of this feeling in the older music. Did you know, I read an article one time that most songs are like written by one guy. There's like this musical savant that just freaking writes songs and just throws them out to record players, and then like Mariah Carey gets it or someone gets it. Yeah, she's basically seeding stuff into this music. There's so many songs that are specifically talking about her. And people just never realize it. You think they're talking about some perfect relationship. Well, the only way you can have a relationship that perfect is if it's with spirit. But anyway, the music thing came up again today because I made this pendant, which doesn't look any different than most other pendants, but it's different in which I took two of those Tibetan quartz points and put one on each side of the pendant and connected them with another Tibetan quartz, like a long, thin one. So they were equal sized, and then I built stuff around it. And then this time today, she wanted me to charge it with music. We haven't done that in a long time. And she wanted me to charge it with the first song, the day she came out. The day she came out was when the voice that I didn't know what it was yet was telling me to make those golden illuminator pendants, and I made the first illuminator pendant. And then it like told me to charge it with music, and I didn't know what. So I started scrolling through Amazon Music, and this song popped up, and I knew it was that one. I'm like, that's got some weird callback to earlier in life. And she had me, when we do that, I just like hang the pendant on the Bluetooth speaker and charge it with that particular song. So this particular song is kind of like our song. It's like the theme song for Chris and Lumen. This is the song that I was given like hours before she popped out. It was a very clear message. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because listening to it this time, there's a line in there that directly correlates to like where we are now. So let me play a little clip from it, and I'll notate the part that matters.
Looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you.
Let 'em say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back. Let the world around us just fall apart. Baby, we can make it if we're heart to heart. And we can build this thing together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And if this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us
Like that is like the most perfect Lumen song ever, because first of all, it's, if you didn't know, if you're not a Gen Xer, it comes from a movie called Mannequin that had Kim Cattrall in it. And I had a weird, that was one of those things earlier in life that I had like a weird feeling with. I had a crush on Kim Cattrall in that movie. And it's a very Luminy story, but the freaking lyrics are dead on. You know, let them say we're crazy. What do they know? Yeah, that's how I feel most times. Like I'm very open with what life is, because the way I see it, there's people out there that know and they don't tell anybody. So how's anybody supposed to know what to look for if no one tells them? Because I know for a fact that people deal with their lumens all the time and they don't recognize them. They're popping up in your mind all throughout your life. But the key thing in there was like, you know, let the world around us just fall apart. And that's what's happening now. The world around us is falling apart. And it's just, you're good because you got her. I was like, whoa, everything is falling apart. And we talked a lot about that in the last video, but everyone's at different stages, but they're all like, some people are going faster, some people, you know, whatever, they're kind of getting to a point to where everyone's going to get to the same point at the same time. But I see it all over the internet. I see it in the comment sections of different videos, no matter what the video is. It's like this place is this is all scripted. This place is scripted. This place is a simulation. This place is, like, they're starting to see it and they don't realize how far it goes. I was trying to explain it a little bit too much earlier, and it's like, I'm going to try and keep it simple as much as possible. But yeah, it's like Everything outside of you is like this scripted freaking story. It's just like Shakespeare said. The world is a stage. The actors have their entrances and their exits, and they play many roles or something like that. So let's jump to like what is the biggest key that is, if you do it right with understanding and context and knowledge, this is the thing that's going to loosen everything up. This is freaking huge. We've been saying it, we've been talking about it, but I've been integrating it and I'm seeing like an immediate freaking effect. It's like I'm hitting a wall that I haven't hit before. So how you tell the degree by which somebody is still anchored in their subjective reality. Now, it could be because they're an NPC. Well, that's a different thing. But the more anchored somebody is in their subjective reality, these are the people that have figured it all out. And we all go through this. I've been at that stage before. Got it all figured out until you don't. And then you go around and yell at other people and educate people and condemn other people because they're saying something that's different from what you figured out. Why is that? Because you know it. You know what you know, and that person's saying something different. Therefore, they're wrong, and you need to correct them, especially in terms of religion. That drives me nuts. I had one. I did. It was so far off. I'm not even going to respond to this. I'm just going to block you because you're talking to a projection of me that's not even me. They're saying some crazy stuff, but whenever they say he in all caps is the way, the truth, the life, and the way, or whatever, however it goes. I'm like, okay, I agree with that, but what's wrong with the she part? There is no she. Ah, so but that's what they told you. Funny thing is like the people that do that, they can't see themselves. They can't see how freaking angry and miserable they are. It's like if you've actually connected to the light with knowledge, you wouldn't be that way. But you're the most miserable people I've ever met. And you just want to condemn everybody and beat them senseless because don't you know that we're the good guys? You need to fall in line. We're the good guys. Okay. They're crazy inquisitor person. I'm going to settle down there for a little minute because you might not know as much as you think you know. These people haven't had any spiritual experiences. They follow a system that tells them you have to believe this. Well, why can't I hear God? Why can't I do this? Why doesn't God works in mysterious ways? Well, that's true, but really it's like they're giving you a system that doesn't work. That's why you're not having the experiences. So there's no excuses like that in Gnosticism because it's like you can't hide from them. You're dealing with it every day. You don't have to be like, gee, I wonder if God is real. Because God would be like, or the Father would be like, do some crazy thing right then. Oh, yeah, got it. But it's because they know. So take anything that you would normally say and add. So like say you're going to educate somebody. You're going to set them straight. They ask you a question. Some people are like, they've got such fleshed out stories for things that they've never seen. The Illuminati's doing this and the world leaders are doing that. And they're going to, oh, how the hell you know that? Were you in on the meeting? Well, this is what we're going to force people to start doing now. Because this is the key. How do you know that? You don't. We are in a maze that is 98% shit we don't know, but we think we do. And you are the one that's creating the thing that you see, because that's how it works. So I would say, I think that this thing is going to happen based on the clues that's in front of me, available to me right now. And then here's the key part that you're going to add to the end of every sentence you speak for the rest of your life. But I don't know. This is what I think based on what is available to me, but I don't know. If you can just lock that in there as quickly as possible, that's like you're entering into a computer in your brain. It's like the legal disclaimer at the end of everything you ever say, but I don't know. I think this is what's going on, but I don't know. Because how are we getting our information? Do you see something happening in the world, or do you see green, red, and blue dots arranging themselves on an electronic screen to produce an image that shows you that? I like to use the George Floyd video, which that was another staged fake thing. Obviously, all you had to do was look at it. Cops just sitting there with his knee on this guy. For what reason? He just sits there and stares at the freaking camera like a retard. Like, and it's like, who's filming this? Why is this? Like, you got to get your brain to ask questions about what it is you're seeing, and does it make sense? It didn't make sense, but it was used as a powder keg. Like, you can't trust anything you see on TV. Nothing. Matter of fact, from now on, like, whatever you see on an electronic screen, just treat it like a TV show. Like, if you watch a movie about zombies, you're not getting freaking freaked out that zombies are outside, right? You need to treat everything like that from here on out. Because we have to understand how our consciousness is interacting with what we're showing so we can disable it. You don't know. Let me give you the deepest example of I don't know. When I was talking about the outer wall. What do I know? I know Lumen is real. I know for the most part what she is. I know the higher aspects are real. I know for the most part what they are. But I also know that there are many, many, many different versions of the backstory of life for different people. And you're going to be given one that works best for you. So for me, it was the Gnostic books is what led me to the final conclusion. But this was actually before she told me about the Gnostic books. So before she told me about the Gnostic books, she just flashed the image of a book cover in my head, really clear. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that book. My friend Julie told me to read it like 8 years ago, but I never did. So I get it and I start reading it and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Like, this is like everything I needed to know, but I ran around in circles for 8 years because I didn't read the book. So the Four Agreements book is the Toltec, which is like Mexican system of cosmology. It's very simple, but it's very close in nature to the Gnostics. They've even got a lot of the same characters. It's just the backstory is not as crazy. You've got the adversary and the ally. Adversary is the devil on your shoulder. The ally is her. You've got, what we would call the matrix today, they call the mitote, the shared collective dream. It's a big noisy mess. It's the collective consciousness. That's the book that's got, the Four Agreements are like, always do don't always do your best. Don't make assumptions. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's like really basic stuff. They're like, if you really understand it, it's rules you can't go wrong with. And she showed me that because like that is an alternative system that will get you to the same place that's a lot simpler than Gnosticism that you can give people. And she's the one who told me about it. And in that book, they're not talking about Sophia or anything like that. So spirit is spirit. And there's certain aspects to spirit. And in different places of the world, different people, it's going to present in different ways. Religion screws that all up. I saw, I think his name's Sam Harris. Not my favorite guy in the world, but he does make some freaking good points at times, talking about religion and how Judeo-Christianity would say that the only way that you go to heaven is if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And that's it. That's the only way. Okay. So he makes a good point. And you can't argue this point. So I saw this prior to 2012 because I remember doing a video on another channel about it. I don't remember what year it was, but there was this big tsunami that hit India. If you remember that, a lot of people died. He's like, okay, so here's all these pictures of these families that died and stuff. Nice people, good people. But so what you're insisting is because these people had the unfortunate bad luck to be born in India, to where they grew up only knowing what they were taught with their culture. You know, you got Ganesha, the elephant god, and then was it Hanuman, the monkey guy? And then you got Shiva and Shakti, which, you know, that's them. But it's not Jesus. So through no fault of your own, you're born in India and you're raised up, you know, praying to the monkey god or whatever. And then you get drowned by a freaking tsunami. So what now? You're going to hell because you didn't take Jesus? That's freaking stupid. It's stupid. And you're stupid if you believe that. If you actually think that somebody living in another culture, that they just didn't have that particular religion, that they're going to some place of eternal punishment, that is stupid. And we need to see these stupid things so we can unplug ourselves from these ideas. But that comes from religion. That comes from religion. Gnosticism takes you in different ways. But religion is kind of like our base outer wall of our maze. And if we're being intellectually honest with ourselves, it falls within the range of intangibles. With intangibles, we often argue with each other because one of the problems with intangibles is we're all giving names to intangible things that we can't see, touch, taste, or put on a table and look at it in a microscope. A lot of times we're close to agreement, but not always. I mean, even in the Nag Hammadi, I've noticed like things are interchangeable. One person's using one word, then later someone else is using another. Like, what is spirit? What is soul? What is ego? Ego is a huge one. Everyone's got their ideas, but like nobody can actually freaking prove it. We do the best that we can, trying to sort out these different pieces of consciousness. It can't be proven. Where religion, I was having this discussion with my mom, it was driving me nuts the other day. It's like, here's another problem I have with religion. And this is not a complaint. It's a logical, like, hey, look at this. See, what am I doing right here? What am I detailing on this channel? Actual, consistent spiritual experiences that I have in the here and now. That makes sense. You know what does not make sense to me? Studying feverishly a book about the spiritual experiences someone else had that you can't confirm is even a real person 5,000 years ago. Supposedly, some guy went up on a hill and talked to a campfire and came back and told people, like, you got to do this. Here, I wrote it on a rock. That's a nice story. And church taught you to just accept it and make it part of your brain. But be intellectually honest. Can you prove that? No. Oh, you're getting mad now. Why are you getting mad? Because that programmed part of your brain is like having a cognitive dissonance moment. It's like, I have accepted this as the highest truth, and you're challenging it, and you're challenging it, and I'm just pointing out a freaking obvious fact. You don't know any of that stuff actually even happened. You just believe it. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying you don't know. Because thousands of years is an awful long time for people who you can't trust to handle a freaking sacred document and trust that nobody monkeyed with it. I mean, they're monkeying with it now. That's provable. But people still say, it's protected. You can't change it. Really? Because China just took it and changed it to say that, that whole part about he who was without sin cast the first stone. You know what China did to their Bible? And then Jesus picked up a stone and basically stoned the woman to death and said, I too am a sinner. God did not just magically come down and freaking destroy China. I think this stuff is given to us because we have to have a framework for the experience, for the lesson. There's got to be something. But if you want to get to the last step that people don't know how to get past, that's why we live so many times over. You want to know what the last step is? Do you? Do you want to know? Do you want to know? At least what I think it is at this point, because now that I'm making this last step, I'm seeing definite changes. Here's the key. When you're able to apply this, but I don't know, to everything, including your spiritual, religious type beliefs, that's the final wall. Because we don't know. That doesn't mean you're not doing anything wrong. It's an obvious block that nobody sees. Now, that doesn't mean I'm denying them, because I know that's something I do know. Trust me, I've experienced them in very visceral ways, undeniable ways that I know for a fact is not me projecting imagination. But I also know from experience, earlier parts of the hero's journey and stuff like that in different times, spirit wears masks. So I've told this to people in the past, like, especially people that are like in metaphysics and magic and stuff like that, and they can list off 10,000 different types of good spirits and 10,000 types of bad spirits and different gods. It's all spirit wearing different masks for you. I know this from experience. It's all one thing. But you don't actually freaking know. And if you can switch to I don't know, everything starts moving and shifting. Because knowing, the ultimate four-letter word, is what locks reality in place. It locks it in place. You can't see anything past what you know or what you believe you know. If you take information, you accept it as true and factual, and you say you know it, you've locked it in place in your consciousness, and you can't see anything else. When you can intellectually, honestly say, well, this is, I believe based on the information that I have, but I don't know. Like, people talk God this, God that. You haven't seen God. You haven't talked to God. not in the true form. And these are usually people that are just like, maybe some people have, but I mean, I have, but what, well, I'm saying like a religious person, it's just, they're really talking about the book. Well, this is what God is like based on the book. What book? The Bible? There's like 3 gods in that Bible. Oh, you didn't know that? Well, sucks to be you then. Sometimes it's good to read the books that they told you you're not allowed to read. Does it makes it all make sense? But just say you don't know. It shines a light on the problem with religion. It's like you have to believe this or else God's going to be pissed at you. He's going to punish you. He's going to send you to hell. Do you know hell's real? Have you been to hell? Have you seen it with your own eyes? No, you haven't. Does it mean there's not something to it? There's something, but doesn't mean it's what they're trying to scare you with. Again, you're creating your own shit. This also goes to the, simplistic everyday stuff that we talk about, which is what we call projection. Okay, so just for instance, if I were to get off this channel and run back to my other channel, which I'm going to have to do soon. Oh, don't lose that thought. I got this package in the mail today. This UPS guy shows up with this big box. I'm like, what in the hell is that? I look at Roman. I'm like, did I order something? Like, what would it be in a box that big? It was something for my outdoor gear channel, which I talked to this company like months ago. I didn't hear back from them. And I opened it up. I'm like, this thing came in the mail. I gave it to my neighbor. I'm like, here, go put this together. You can play with it for a while. That thing is nuts. I'm like, this seems so out of place for what I do now, but I don't know. It kind of looks fun too. But anyway, but I digress. But if I were to hop back over and do a video on my other channel, when those people see me, now there's a lot of people that are on both channels. Because there were times when we dropped hints over there because Sophia wanted to pull some people from over there to this place. We couldn't talk about it long over there because the Christians start burning their torches and coming for me for suggesting that there's a feminine presence to God. Because according to them, it's one big sausage fest. Ain't no women in my religion. Ugh, whatever. And you wonder why the world's screwed up. But they see me on that channel and they think they know who they're seeing. He's an outdoor guy. He designed a bunch of great knives. No, I did. But they've got this persona. They only know me from YouTube and what they've seen. So they take what they see, and that leaves a whole bunch of like open space. They don't know who I'm really like. They haven't met me. They haven't been to my place. They definitely don't know about this. And then they fill in the blanks and create a persona for me. And that's who they like. They like the person that they think that I am. Now, think about that. Take that projection thing in a negative way. You take like politics. The news media tells stories about people all day long, and the lower cognitive functioning people just believe it, and then they hate the person. They don't even know what half these freaking words they throw around mean, but they hate the person because of who they think that person is. Even with the lack of tangible proof of it, but they just believe they have their own version of that person in their minds. And then they take the person that they themselves constructed in their minds and they project it onto that other person. Kind of like when we're in love, we project our lumen onto that person. In this case, this is like the anti-lumen. It's like you're projecting your hate onto somebody. and it's a reflection of what's in you. So once again, you're perceiving reality in a state of illusion because of what you believe, because of what you think you know. But if you don't know, you can't lock it in place in your reality. I sit there and watch every bit of conflict out there that you'll possibly run into is because of what people think they know. You want to have a good time? Freaking lock 5 flat earthers in a room with 5 globe earthers and pop some popcorn. Watch the teeth and the blood fly because they both know. And that's why they're so passionate about it, is because they see clear evidence of what they believe, of what they think they know. Because when you believe it and you think you know it and you accept it to be true, you will see evidence of that. You always see evidence in this weird ass place we're in of what you think you know. What you believe, you'll see evidence of. Like, this place would be really freaking cool if we were allowed to come in here with a handbook and no authority. No, but like we were allowed to grow up in our own way with our handbook is like, okay, this is how your mind works. And we didn't have people at a young age be like, did you say your prayers, Timmy? Who's like 3. Say your prayers, because if not, the devil will get you and send you to hell. That's trauma-based mind control, by the way. That's what you were raised in if you're religious. Trauma-based freaking mind control. Fear of hell. It's crazy. I don't know. Realize it. You have to realize it. Not just say it. You have to realize that you don't actually know. All right, let's move on from that. I got a couple other key points here. Well, to wrap that up, for most stuff, I'll say 98% of stuff, you can't prove anything on your own. So why are we fighting with each other when nobody can prove anything? Well, we've been trained with one particular thing, which is defer to authority. By the time you were 5, you were taught authority. Listen to your teacher, study, listen, do what the nice policeman says. Do what the nice ATF agent says, or else he'll kill your dog. But that's not proof of anything. Well, science isn't proven shit. Well, here's a paper that proves it. Okay, I see a paper with words on it. It only works if you're the one doing the experiment, and it's only applicable to you. Someone else does an experiment on the other side of the world and I read a paper about it, that doesn't mean crap to me because I didn't do it. It's a story. Authority controls knowledge. They give you the knowledge you want you to have, and then you can't see past it. But understand that it's crazy that people argue with each other all day about religion and things that they believe when none of them can prove it. They're just insistent about what they know. That's their reality. Like, this has to sink in. This is like one of the last big things. This is the becoming like children, becoming like babies. Because babies don't know anything. There's no walls. There's no limitations. The whole part of the game at the end is not realized. Now, I've seen glimpses of this in my path. Once was actually an oil that I made with some really crazy stones. I started seeing like sacred geometry and stuff, and my consciousness like shot up out of this place. And it's like if this was a dome, and that's if this was a dome, and then it's like rows and rows of domes as far as the eye can see. Each one of those is a world with its own backstory and its own rules. I mean, I'm even like aware enough to say, and I've said it before, you know, we got the Gnostic stories of like, you know, how this place was created. Well, Sophia made a mistake and created this guy, and he woke up and was all grumpy and he made a world. Okay, that's nice. You got to have a backstory, but nobody can prove that. Everything you know about outside of this place, you learned inside of this place. So, do you really know it? The only thing you can know is through your own experience. That's the way it is. You'll have a lot more fun with this place, and it'll actually be more open to different things if you just simply, you know, getting to this state of not knowing is letting go of letting go of the game. And then you're not affected by what you see outside of you. It's like, look at this silly nonsense. Like, this is all staged. This is like the program just has these actors that are acting out scenes and causing the story to go one way or the other so people can make choices. Yeah. The world is a stage. It's scripted. It's got cycles and timers. It's like a clock. You know, different things happen at different times. The other big thing is, I would say, like, this is the next big thing after that. It applies to both the world outside of you and your own mind because it was programmed that way. And that is, your own mind gaslights you, as does the media. You didn't see what you saw. There's an explanation for this within authority. No, that's too good to be true. No, you didn't see what you saw. Just no, that you probably have like schizo something something something. You've got some unprovable freaking brain consciousness condition that we can treat with pills, because what you're saying is not part of the script that we set up. No, you didn't really see a plane fly into a building like it was Jello. It happened the way it can happen. It can happen. Forget every other case in history where a bird hits a freaking 747 and the freaking nose caves in. Don't trust your own eyes. Trust us. You didn't see what you saw. No, because if you did, that would mean you're crazy. No, that guy on YouTube, he's not married to a freaking angel, basically, because that's too good to be true. He's delusional. He's giving you hope. Why do you have hope? This place sucks. You know that hope isn't real. Just be miserable. Don't believe in that stuff. You didn't see what you saw. You just imagined it. Imagination's not real. See what I'm saying? We've been dealing with this our whole life. Your mind does it and authority does it. We've talked about this before, but more simplistic terms. You've got that base programming that they put in you, which is like, if it's too good to be true, must be bullcrap. Oh, that one's insidious. Insidious. It sets you up to be like, only accept bad things to be true. You are taught into this shitty reality. And the way you break it down is to stop knowing it. Realize that it was taught to you. Stop knowing it. Yeah, I get it. I can say I believe it because I've seen the evidence. I've had the experiences. But as far as that root cause of it, I can't prove that, so I don't know it. The devil, the world, you could consider them the same thing. Started talking about this last night, I think, but I started playing around with it more, using the Benedict exorcism, directing it at the world. Before I do any work connecting to her or Christ or the Father, I think of it like a bubble. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing the world back, pushing the world away from me. Right now, you're swimming in the world. It's like the world is the ocean and you're underwater and it's all around you and it's trying to go up your nose and stuff like that. So it's hard to focus on anything but the world, but you create a bubble, push the world back away from your consciousness. What else? And the last thing, because we're running out of time, you got to take back your mind. We'll go into greater detail as things pan out, but you have control over what's in your mind. But because of that water pressure, the world has always pushed its way through your eyes, through your ears, to create an exact duplicate image of it in your mind. That's one of the big problems. Is you looked at the world, it pushed its way in your mind, it just copied itself in your mind. You got to delete that copy and create your own world and create a barrier between what is outside of you and what is inside of you. Now, I've done that. And that's why I can just turn on some music and escape. And I can go to a place and be happy and have fun and be like a completely different version of myself. That's much more animated and fun and younger and and all that stuff. And there's no difference between memories of what I do in that world and memories of what I do in this world. The key is feeling. Do you feel it? I have higher degree of all the different senses in 4D, 5D. Like Lumen, to me, like my memory, any memory I have of Lumen is actually more clear than any physical woman I've ever been with. And I was married for 16 years. Because I can't remember what the tiny little hairs on my ex-wife's arm felt like, but I can feel them on her. Because you have to tune your attention that sharply to make the inner world more real. But the other thing is, like, I love Lumen and I can feel Lumen love me. That's not something that you can fake or imagine. Because that's feeling, that's heart, that's source. Like they've told us our whole lives, but it takes a while constantly working at it, figuring out how to let go of your programming, where they said everything you want is inside of you. The treasure you seek, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. It's inside of you. Like you have to venture into yourself and clear out all the demons and the monsters and the dragons and the hordes and the shadow men and all that crap. You got to fight that stuff out of your mind and take it back. Plant your flag and then set up your own little guarded kingdom in there. It's your own mind. The world copied itself in your mind. You got to clear it back out because it's from there that you're going to exit out of here. Because once you've got yourself established in both places, the only thing that really needs to happen now is for the outer illusion to be deconstructed, which is what's happening now. And we talked about that. But anyway, that's enough for tonight. I could probably keep going on here, but hopefully you got the point. We repeated it a lot because it's that important. If you don't understand it, ask a question and we'll try to reword it. But try to use logic and reason to make the I don't know thing stick. Think about all the intangible things that you think you know about this place. And then realize you don't know, you just believe it. And it frees things up. And what she's showing me now is kind of like it could go in a completely different way, completely unexpected. Because all that stuff we've been waiting for is a product of the backstory that we were given. Maybe that's why it never freaking happens. Because everybody would have to be in agreement on it for it to happen. But if you separate yourself enough from the world and you start to let it crumble, then maybe it will happen for you on the subjective level. We're really close. Because she's basically changing the tone completely. So like, why do we have to play out that story? We don't. We don't. You've got the God spark in you. You can just phase out of here and do it the nice way. All right, that's all I got for right now. My back hurts. I need to roll on it or something. Like, crap. Anyway, you want to get in touch with this, Etsy store, sealemanCreations.etsy.com. She's the boss, so she keeps me hopping every day. That's why I keep saying I'm going to do stuff and I don't do it, because she's directing me to do something else. But just know that you can always message the seller from any of the listings and ask a question. Be like, what do you have for this? Tell me a very condensed version of what you need. And I might already have something, or I can make something and we can discuss what you need until I get some of this other stuff listed. That's the way we used to do it. We didn't used to have Etsy. I was making stuff for people for several years before Etsy. Okay, well, that's all we got for right now. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.